Hey folks, how we doing today? It's me again, Shannon Fox here, Devoted Patriots 2, not Devoted Patriots, but Devoted Patriots 2. Now that I'm over here on this new spot, not really new, been over here for about 3 months, but I haven't really promoted this channel too much. And because of what's happened to me on the other spot, I realized that you need to have a second channel, a backup that is just like the other one, fully monetized with all your viewing hours and all the things that's needed. That way you can decide which one you can put your most spiciest videos on according to your swing and a miss status. And that's the best way I can say that. We are having a mystery guest on today. This is my very first live stream from my house. I've been on live streams on the Fox and Archibald show, on This Way Network, on Blue Collar Talk, and a few other shows as well. But I've never had the opportunity to have the live stream come from my end. Thanks to my mystery guest today. He's helping me understand this StreamYard, and he's struggling through watching me struggle, I'm sure, at this point. I have missed a lot of news in the last couple of weeks. I haven't really missed it. I've been keeping up on it, but I have not been able to give y'all any kind of reports. So I just wrote down a list of just about everything that come to mind today when I was thinking about what's happened over the last 2 weeks that I have not been able to report on, and I'm sure I'll miss a few. 2 weeks I was gone. The country started a war, or Russia started a war with Ukraine, amongst many other things. And like I said, it's a crazy world we're living in. And just 2 weeks off the grid, I realize this world is ever turning with more and more information coming out daily. And the good part about it is a lot of this information is about transparency for the things we need, including with the selection processes. And I'll get into that here in a little while on another video. But I did want to start this live stream. I do have a video clip I wanted to play a little bit of here in the video, just to let y'all know what's really going on in the Congress. Let me go ahead and bring in my mystery guest today. That'd be see if anybody recognizes this guy. There he is.
Hey! No, I was just funning you. All right.
Hey, that works.
All right. Good deal.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Always good to see you. So, what do you got for us?
This is Dave and Callie. Oh, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's backwards.
So what do you got going?
I'm just I've been off of here for a couple of weeks for the most part, just hanging out at the house, absorbing a whole lot of information. And one of the things that has really been heartbreaking to me is what's going on in Ukraine. See this little mini me Putin, a little tyrant. I don't know what to say about him other than he's 3 times smarter than Biden and 4 times wickeder than the Democrats. So he's definitely a force to be reckoned with, and we got the wrong man in office to be dealing with him. We don't need a checker player in the middle of a chess game, and that's how I feel about that. But at the moment, we're doing all we can to right the ship in the right direction. Yeah. I've even heard some information in the last couple of days from Vernon Jones. Now, this is a crazy story, but Vernon Jones, a couple of days ago, he said when we take back the House and the Senate, he said he is going to put it on the floor for them to take a vote for a new Speaker of the House. And he's going to nominate Donald Trump.
Oh.
Have you heard that one yet? He said this is what we need to do. He says we need to put Trump in Speaker of the House.
Oh my God!
This is what Vernon Jones says. He says we put Trump in Speaker of the House. He says we clean that place out. We get rid of all the shenanigans. He says, and in that way, when 2024 comes around, everything will be ready for the real deal.
Whew.
He also said this. This is the funniest part of the whole scene. He said, you know what we can do? He says we can start impeachment proceedings immediately. He says
the same, tit for tat. Yeah,
he says we can start impeachment proceedings immediately and putting Trump as Speaker of the House. He said we will not. He said it won't just be Biden; it'll be Biden and Kamala as well for their atrocities. He says, and what we can do is we can take them out, and we can put 45 back in his spot.
That would be a landmark ordeal. Man.
I've heard Trump say that a couple of times that he'll be back sooner than we think, and that's just kind of a mystery play on words.
Yeah. Well,
But I would love to see something like that happen. That would be awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think the country would rejoice. We would have a party.
Yeah.
It would be a nationwide block party if Biden got impeached. See, when we control the House and the Senate, we can literally impeach him in not just one, but in both.
Yeah.
And if you impeach him in the House and the Senate, they got to go.
It's a done deal.
It's a done deal.
Wow.
And I thought that's just a great tidbit of information. It's just his idea, what he wants to do, what he wants to get done. He said that Trump probably doesn't want to step into office in any lower position. He said, but for what needs to be done, it may be the best plan forward to get our country headed in the right direction.
I could see a strategy that could play out like that. But at the same time, it reminds me of when we had all sorts of hope in Pence and what he could have done, and then he didn't, and we all got our hopes up that, he'll go, because it was legal. It would have been legal to do.
Right.
It just, depends on whether he felt comfortable with it or what kind of pressure he's getting from, the other side. I don't know. I'm not a Pence believer, you might say. But,
no, me neither.
Yeah. And it's probably because of after that, that's why I, kind of changed my thoughts on whether I would back up Pence ticket or not, So
I think Pence and Barr both were on the wrong team.
Yeah.
The only thing I seen that Barr did that was actually good was he did not. He appointed that Durham probe to a special counsel. That way, it couldn't be just knocked out in a minute by the next coming administration. That was one of the things that Barr did. That I thought was pretty stand up. That's why the Durham thing is still going today.
And do you think that maybe when he did do that, he thought, well, they're not going to find anything or whatever?
Oh, I'm sure.
So
I'm sure.
And now they're being surprised. So
I think he did it to appease Trump because Trump was mad at him on the way out.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So the stuff that came out with Durham. I mean, I've been pushing trying to get information on how that was going, but during the investigation, you can find nothing. He ran a tight ship. That's the first time I've ever seen an investigation that there had no leaks. I mean, it had no leaks.
He's the real deal. He's the real deal.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't mean to get you off track there.
No, you're good.
So, what do you got? What do you got going on here today?
I'm going to play a video here in just a minute, but let me just read you the list of things that I had not been able to report on in the last 2 weeks.
There you go.
By the way, I probably missed a lot.
By the way, we all really missed you. I mean, it became a habit of always tuning in and checking out what Shannon had to say. So, we're glad you're back, man.
I'm glad to be back. I miss my whole Devoted Patriots family, not just the podcasters, everybody. I miss being able to get in the comment section and talk to people and things of that nature. I enjoy the correspondence.
Absolutely.
Links, and that's one of the enjoyable parts about it is you get to interact with people.
Yeah, you get friends all over the United States.
Absolutely. I never imagined I'd be talking to a particle physicist on a Tuesday and a Canadian Patriot on a Wednesday, and by Thursday I'm interviewing a local politician. That was a heck of a week for me. I never imagined
that was a neat week.
I'd be doing any of these things, right?
Yeah.
Much less put all of them in the same week. So I had a great week 2 weeks ago until it happened.
Yeah, well, that's
that's the way it goes.
It happens to all of us, believe me. So, all right, well, let's hear your list.
Okay. Well, first off, I want to say props to the Ukrainian people and Zelensky for his bravery, because bravery is contagious, courage is contagious, and If he would have just run, took the money and run, his countrymen would have been destroyed by now. But he decided to stand up and fight for his people, with his people, when he had an option to get out. That tells me that the man is. I have a lot of respect for him as a leader. I can't imagine having to make Molotov cocktails to fight off tanks. I mean, you're a little outgunned like that. I mean, it's a crazy situation.
Got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do, and I feel so bad for those people. It's literally a heartbreaking experience to watch just the footage I've seen in the last 10 days. This has been going on 10 days now, and I can say this: they're putting up a hell of a fight.
Yeah.
Russia is taking some casualties, and
I've heard more than they're reporting. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. There is people from all countries headed to Ukraine to try to get in to help. There's weapons coming from several countries. There's sanctions coming from several countries, and there is tons of funds coming from other countries just to try to help. And I think it's a little late to be deciding to want to help now. They should have been a little more united from the get-go. And I understand why NATO is trying to tiptoe around the airspace issue and all that, because they don't want to be thrown in the middle of the war. But truth be known, if Russia takes over Ukraine, they'll be after somebody else next. Russia will be on a terror. He's not just going after Ukraine. He wants as much as he can get. He's that type of dictator. I already see this. So if we don't stop, we have to stop him in Ukraine. So I suggest all governments chip in and help. With the problem. Putin's a tyrant. I mean, he's just like a smarter version of Trudeau or somebody,
Oh. Wait, maybe you're giving him too much credit. I don't know.
No, I think he's very intelligent. That's the problem. Because he's devious, but he's not a dummy. And that's what it takes to be a leader. Yeah. Not the devious part, but the ability to control the crowd.
Understand the dynamics of everything.
Understand the dynamics of what's going on. He's playing 4D chess with Biden while Biden's playing checkers, and there's no doubt about it. And I don't know if there's anybody in our government, Attorney General or Department of Homeland Security, or any of them guys that have a clue as to figure out what to do about Putin other than just sit back and watch what's happening. They don't. He's playing a different game than they are. That's the way I feel about it, and that's why they can't stay ahead of the situation. I do think that the Russian people are turning against Putin. A lot of his own people are turning against him, and that's a great thing. I'm glad to see the world standing up and uniting with Ukraine and against Russia for these atrocities. And I'm just glad to see these people are standing in the gap to do what they can to help. Whether it be standing up for their freedom in their own blown up houses or out there digging holes to bury mines to slow down the tank convoys. I mean, I can't imagine urban warfare. These people were sleeping in their beds last week, and now their homes are destroyed, and it's totally devastating. I watched a lot of footage of what's happened, and it's just I'm glad to see that it's not going easy for Russia.
Yeah,
they've lost generals, they've lost tanks, they've lost planes. I'm glad to see the Ukrainians are putting up the good fight. I just want to give them props for that. And that's what happened as soon as that happened within a couple of days of me being out of commission over here. And next thing you know, the Texas elections happened. Actually, there's primaries in several states. And I made a video earlier over here on my Devoted Patriots 2. I just went in and did my little 5 minutes to go in and vote. Did a little walk around out there just to encourage people, go vote if you get the opportunity. I know these are only primary elections in this state, but primary elections make a difference to find out who's on the ticket, and that makes a huge difference. And who's going to be your choice in the final outcome. So I believe in voting in all elections, and that's the main reason I did that video and that interview with that district attorney. It's because I want people to get more energized and involved in the people picking process, because you don't really have a right to complain too much if you don't take the initiative to even go put your mark down.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way I feel about it. And so I tell everybody, instead of complaining about the way things are going, change things with your vote if you can. At least go make your mark. I seen that a lot of the mandates have been backed off in the last 2 weeks. Even the Democrats are saying that the mandates are not a good thing. That's just that. I think the science changed when that State of the Union address happened. I don't know what happened
Science
that day, but
changed.
science changed that day.
No,
It was a pretty coincidental timing, but something
yeah.
about
Well,
the science changed at that
they
point.
finally put it to vote, but I think what was going on in Canada and what was heading their way this week had a lot to do with a lot of the decisions of totally backing off and you know they actually voted against it and shut down all mandates. So yeah, it
That's
was a good
great
thing.
news. That's great news for the country.
Yeah.
These things are not working anymore. These oppressive rules are not working for the people, and I think the November. I think what's going to happen in November. I think the Democrats are on defense now, and I think that had a lot to do with why he started to sound like Trump at the end of his State of the Union speech. You hear all that?
Yeah.
Gotta close the borders, and
Oh
oh, he
yeah.
had a whole list of lies. He had a whole list of lies that he wanted to fund the police and close the borders, and oh, he was spilling some lies. And if there was a Pinocchio
Well,
award to be given that
that
day, it was for him.
that was a speechwriter. The speechwriter says, "Oh, people like to hear this. The people like to hear this. The people like to hear." So that's why during his speech you found so many things that were contradictory to what he was saying. Like he's gonna fight inflation, yet make sure that people get higher paying jobs. Those two things really, don't work together. Cut
Right.
taxes and do less spending while he's trying to pass the Build Back Better, issue. So I mean, these things don't
And
make any
tells the,
sense.
and then tells the companies they need to take less profits.
Right. Exactly.
And that
Exactly.
doesn't make any sense. When you do something like that, when you start cutting into your profits of a company, they don't lose profit. They start cutting their overhead, and that first thing to go is employees.
So,
I seen that but something that's happened over the last 2 weeks. This truckers convoy has started and grown and grown. Matter of fact, you covered it. Jennifer's covered it.
yeah.
Several people have covered it. I've had no opportunity to cover it at all. And I just wonder what is the final destination of this thing. Is that going to be around Washington?
Yeah, they're going to stay about 40 miles out because they don't want what would obviously happen if they did show up
Yeah.
and circle the 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 Capitol. Of course, the security around the Capitol has been bolstered. They've got National Guard and everything out there now too. So
I heard it was over 100 miles of vehicles now.
yeah, well, the last I saw, it said it was confirmed 70 miles, so it might be up to 100 by now.
Did you watch any of that CPAC? I watched several hours of that CPAC
A
while I
little
was
bit
sitting
of
here at
it.
the house. I like listening to a lot of them, like John Kennedy and Christy Nome. I listen to several of them. Get up there, of course. I listen to Trump's speech as well. It's a good opportunity for a lot of Republicans to get up there and speak their mind. I like to see those events, get to hear what they're really thinking. The Gableman report has come out or there's been more evidence about the Gableman report has come out this week, and I don't want to talk about it too much, but I will be doing a few videos about it later in the week, involving people at hotels doing things they shouldn't have been back in November. It's a crazy story. Any rate, like I said, I just wrote down a whole list of things that was going on this week that I didn't have opportunity to talk about. There's been a big Wisconsin hearing. It's been going on pretty much all week. Been amazing. I've been following that pretty closely. Matter of fact, I'll probably do a couple of videos about it before this week is out, just because there's so many things that have been brought to light, and I'll probably have to leave links for that as well. just because of CommuTube. Well, the state of the country and everything. She basically has nothing good to say but her lies. I won't even get into the Psaki story of the week, but how do you know when Psaki's lying? Usually her mouth is moving, kind of like Joe on that State of the Union speech. So it has been an eventful 2 weeks. We've had convoys, and we've had war, and we've had CPAC, conventions, and we've had Wisconsin hearings. It has been a one heck of a week, or actually 2 weeks for the country. More than anything else, I'm just definitely curious about how this is all going to turn out with Ukraine, because truth of the matter, this could be the very thing that forces Biden to turn on our energy again. If it comes down, I know that's not what Nancy wants, but if we shut off fuel options from Russia, we're going to have to get them from somewhere. And so I think the best policy possible that all these politicians are talking about, even some Democrats, is we need to turn our fuel back on.
We need to
turn
restore
our
it.
pumping back
Yes,
on.
absolutely.
I seen Joe Manchin, and it was 17 or 18 senators from the House and the Senate, bipartisan. I think it was 8 and 9 Democrat and Republicans all got together, and they're trying to put some legislation together in order to fix this. They want to turn our fuel back on. Joe Manchin said it best. He said it doesn't matter if you're pumping the oil out of Russia or Canada or the United States. It's no less green to pump it from here.
Right. Well,
as a matter of fact, he said we do it cleaner than anyone else, and we shut our own off in order to pretend like we're in this green fantasy land, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Appease the green people.
I guess it's just something to make AOC happy. Is the only thing I can think of.
But just turning that back on would of course it would take a while, but they said something like 23% of the demand would be satisfied by that. That's really close to a quarter of the demand. So, that's a lot. So
I think it's going to have to be done. I think I think the Democrats are in a spot. If we get to where gas is $6 a gallon because they refuse to turn on our own fuel over the next several months, and they know midterms is coming up, by the time midterms get here, they're going to be twice as hated, even by their own party.
Yeah.
Because of the stickers at the pump that say I did that. I did that stickers at the pump. Everybody's feeling that, and if it turns out that the Democratic Party just puts their arms up and say we refuse to turn the fuel back on here in the United States, I think they're gonna burn their own self down.
Yeah.
Because now there is no it's all about green and it's all about this. The optics are gone. It's now we need our own energy for safety factors for the world. If you let countries like Russia control world energy, you're asking for problems. And we knew this. Trump knew this. Trump spoke about this many times. He called the European Union idiots for crawling into bed with Russia over this oil 2 years ago. And he knew it would cause a problem, and which it obviously has, between a weak president and the fact that Russia thinks everybody's got to buy from them because we turned our own stuff off. It's put us in a compromised situation, and it's obvious to everyone at the gas pump.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
If the gas prices, they don't find a way to keep the gas prices below $4 or $5 a gallon, they're going to get not just beat in November, they're going to get destroyed in November, I believe. And gasoline's enough to do it for most people. Most people are going to be scratched. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, if you're paying $5, $6, $7 a gallon for gas, and it's because of a war that happened because of a weak administration and bad policies, which is clear as a bell now. Everybody knows why the gas is going up, and it's not all Russia-Ukraine's fault. It's the fault of our administration turning our pipelines off. So that bothers me a lot, and I think the end result's going to be they're either going to take it on the chin for not turning it on over the next couple of months, or they're going to have to reverse their policies.
Yep,
Now,
absolutely.
I don't believe they'll ever close the border, even though he said it in his speech. I don't believe that's ever in the agenda. And I don't believe turning our fuel is in their agenda either. But I think they're getting in a position where they might not have a choice.
Oh
So
yeah,
as bad as the war is in Ukraine, we may end up in a situation to where it benefits the entire world for us to turn our fuel back on.
right, exactly. Because we might even export if we had to. You
Exactly.
never
Well,
know.
that's what Germany is saying. Germany's saying, well, we would rather not buy our natural gas from Russia, but at this point, we don't have a lot of choice.
Well,
And
plus
so that's why Joe Manchin brought this bill to the floor, is because they want to have an option. All these European countries that can't really get involved with Ukraine's problems because they're doing the bidding of Russia when it comes to their refineries
right,
and their fuel consumption and things. And so there has to be another. If they decide to go against Putin, in turn, they've decided to cut their own throats on energy.
right,
And
right.
so that's a big problem for a lot of these European countries, especially Germany.
Yeah,
I mean, who wants to go through a winter with no fuel behind America quit pumping it and Putin's mad at us? Really
right,
not a good
right.
choice there, right?
Well,
So they're going to have.
also Biden administration has been kind of, well, maybe not so secretly because we know about it, talking with Iran. I mean, really? Um, it's like, why don't we just turn our own back on and stop dealing with all that over there as far as purchasing it? I get it. Early on, there was the thought that if we bought it or imported it, we could save and keep ours in the ground. That was more of a strategic thing. So,
Right.
but now uh, there is so much reserve that they're not allowing them to tap under Wyoming right now. They've
Absolutely.
already drilled the pipe heads, the well heads are there. They turn the spigot on and off up in Wyoming, but that's part of the Federal Reserve right there. So it's kind of our backup in case we were to get in another world war. And obviously we would have to use our own resources. So
I
I
can't believe he.
didn't.
I can't believe he wanted to tap out our own reserve, knowing that war is a possibility on the horizon for anybody at this point in time. Them oil reserves are there for our military backup. They're there for our economy backup if we do have a hiccup in the oil industry.
Yeah.
Reserves are reserves for a reason.
Well,
They're not meant to be tapped out willy nilly according to
well,
trying to
yeah,
fluctuate
but
pricing.
there's also a thing that was part of the original package when it was set up on the oil reserves, was also a way for the government to recoup some of their dollars to go back into the federal government. So by selling off portions of it, because it's also the reserve gets larger too. So by selling off of it, it's supposed to go into the piggy bank, you might say, to help offset our expending and so forth. So there was an agreement built into that reserve, and not all presidents have even tapped into it. So there's been a kind of I don't know, a backup, but it's not really backed up, but it hasn't been used. So obviously Biden,
Surplus.
yeah, he's taking advantage of it, but the optics of it does not look good because he chose, terrible time to. Here we're importing, yet we're selling off. Now, does that make sense to you?
It sounds like sounds like somebody's getting paid in the middle.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I realize this. This is one of the issues that a lot of people don't realize about the oil industry and a lot of industries. We can manufacture a lot of things here in this country. We can pump oil out of our own soil and natural
yeah,
gas because we got plenty, right?
right,
But it's not really economical for the government to pay their own people to pump the stuff out of the ground and sell it back to the American people because there's only so many hands in that pot, right?
Well, plus the government never does
This
anything efficiently.
of course, and so they don't want to do it the easy way, the cheapest way, the most efficient way. What they want to do is they want to buy it from somewhere else that controls the pricing. If you're pumping it out of the United States from an oil company here in the United States or British Petroleum or whatever, the natural gas, there's the middleman, there's the government, there's the refineries, there's the oil companies, right?
Yeah.
That's the players. Now, when you get to buying it from another country, now you're dealing with not 4 entities, you're now dealing with 16 or 20 entities to get it here. Because you're talking shipping, you're talking people like the Biden to be in the middleman in the transactions, and we see they do these government contracts to buy everything in the world from all over the world. But when it comes to energy and things like that, that's where our government has the opportunity to really stick it to us. Nobody knows how much money is being pumped into Russia still today to buy oil while they're at war with a country that's trying to have a democracy. That's kind of an oxymoron. It's bad business to say you're going to sanction somebody that you're doing business with. You need to quit doing business with them. I mean, that would be the first real sanction, right? That's the reality of a real sanction. But they don't want to sanction Russia because I believe too many of these politicians enjoy the fact that you can buy gas at home, but there's not enough money in it for the middlemen, for the brokers, for the contractors. But if you do it overseas, you can throw pallets of cash at it, and as it comes and goes, the people don't actually. I think it's a good way to hide money. I think it's a good way to skim off the top. I'm sure whatever we're paying by the barrel for oil, when they buy it in larger quantities, they get a better price, and therefore somebody's getting a cut off the top. I think it's just my own personal opinion. It's not about a Green New Deal. I think it's about how much more money is involved in certain people's pockets by brokering these deals. Yeah. You know, if you broker the deal between Russia and Germany and your last name is Biden, you're a rich man. All right?
So what's on your video?
Oh, let's check it out. Let's get it done. I thought you was going to bring us a guest in.
Oh, well, she just gave me an update. I thought she was ready to come in. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's check this out. This has a little bit to do with exactly what we're talking about. We'll go ahead and put us on split side screen. Okay, and add the stream.
My Democrat colleagues decided
not
to talk about Ukraine
everything
when we got back together, but instead they want to talk about expanding abortion in America. How incredibly tone deaf is that?
Yep.
The whole world is talking about Ukraine and the oppression they're experiencing, and the United States Senate is talking about how do we get more abortions in America? That's what we're going to vote on? That's what we're going to debate, is how do we get and increase abortions in America when the world sees what's happening in Ukraine? What in the world? How tone deaf can we be?
Very tone deaf.
This body should be the place where we're actually debating the biggest issues of the day. And apparently, to my Democrat colleagues, the biggest issue of the day is how many more abortions can we get in America? Because that seems to be bigger than Ukraine, bigger than 7.5% inflation, bigger than $30 trillion in debt, bigger than anything. The most important thing is how can we take the life of more children? What has this body become when there's an obsession with abortion?
Yeah.
This is the most pro-abortion president this country has ever had, and the most pro-abortion Democrat Party our country has ever seen. It is now impermissible to be a Democrat and to support the life of children. You're pushed out of the party. And it's moved from, there used to be the vast majority of Democrats were pro-life Democrats, so then it was fewer and fewer and fewer. And now it's moved from you can't just not be pro-life. Now you have to actually be pro-abortion, well beyond pro-choice. Now you have to find ways to increase abortions in America to be accepted in the party. This is not where America
That
is.
is a heck. That is a heck of a
The bill that's being brought to the
way to
floor
get in a
in
party,
just
huh?
minutes from now.
that is a. Are you there? That
Yeah,
is a
I'm
heck
there.
of a way to get in. I guess that's part of the inauguration process to be a Democrat. You got to sign off on that Planned Parenthood.
I guess.
Boy, what a sad world we live in when there's not a single Democrat that even has any problems with abortion.
I know. I know.
It's just I don't. You act like you care about human lives, but at the same time, you take a lot of lives with these policies. So, which is it? You care about human lives, or you only care about certain human lives? And it kind of goes back to the borders. They're talking about, I
Yep.
think it was Nancy Pelosi or somebody said they need to build a wall around Ukraine. What about walls down here where I live? Down here in Texas, we got a big wall and it's got holes all in the fence. We can't get the fence up down here. So I'm guessing the borders are only good for some places.
I thought you guys were going to finish it on your own.
I don't
What
know what
happened?
to say about Abbott. Abbott does a lot of talking. He's a great talker, and I
Okay.
emphasize talker. I think Abbott is a decent governor, but I think he's a little complacent. I think there's probably more. I don't know for a fact, but I think there's probably more he could do to kick these machines out of the country, or at least out of the state. These calculators, and he could do more about dealing with. If the federal government says catch and release, and the state and local government says no, we're sending them back. At one point, you have to come to situations where you're not listening to the federal government because the federal government is not listening.
Yeah.
There was a judge in Texas that said he wasn't allowed to pick them up and drop them off. Biden wasn't allowed to pick them up and drop them off here in Texas, and they needed to close the border. And all these things are technically illegal and unconstitutional, and nothing got done about it. I mean, it's like it went in one ear and out the other. I mean, when a judge overrules the president on something over safety, and the president doesn't have to abide by these rules, why does Governor Abbott have to abide by what ICE is told to do down there at the border? I'd be telling them ICE agents that work for the federal government, we don't need you here. They're part of the supply chain now of putting these people in the country. They are part of the convoy of human trafficking now,
Right.
whether they want to be or not.
Well, which I don't know. Was that the plan all along?
I'm guessing we're going to get about 1 million Ukrainians as well this month.
Well, yeah.
That's a good possibility. If they come from every direction by 2024, they're figuring on 5 or 10 million extra choosers, and that's what they think they're going to need in order to control things. That's just my theory.
Yeah.
But immigrating all these people into the country seems to be a facetious plan. For a fact. Now, some of these Ukrainian people in refugee situations got to get out of there. I understand they need to be relocated.
Okay. That's more of a
But I
life-saving
don't believe
thing.
that they all need to come to America on Americans' taxpayers' dollar in expense.
Yeah,
I mean,
there are other countries
we really
they
can't
can.
afford 1 million, 2 million, 3 million refugees when our economy is falling apart as we speak. I mean, that's just
Right.
my opinion, and I'm not speaking against Ukrainian people. I'm just speaking up for our country. Without borders, you don't have a country, and I believe people in refugee situations need to be helped out, and maybe some of them need to be placed in another spot. Because of the war-torn zone. I'm in agreement with humanitarian aid. Once all this is over, I'm in agreement with all that. These people are in bad shape, but I don't believe that bringing them all to America is the answer. I wonder where all this war is going. It's really it's so unpredictable at this point.
Yeah.
What's going to happen on every level, from the people there fighting in the streets to how Europe is going to handle it when Putin decides that he wants to pick on one of his other neighbors.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
he's not going to change his ways. He's not going to stop being a tyrant tomorrow. It's not going to happen behind sanctions, and it's probably not going to happen behind anything that's done against him. And I say this for one reason. You know, Russia used to be the USSR, right?
Oh, yep, yep.
And they are not anymore because of the Afghan war. The Afghan war broke that country's back. They could not afford to go over there and fight the Afghanis for a dozen years, but they did it anyway. They expended their resources beyond their limits. And the problem was for them is we were sending RPGs over there, which are a $500 rocket launcher. And these $500 rocket launchers, handheld bazookas basically, can drop a $3 million helicopter with one shot.
That's right.
And so that was a problem for them. I mean, the Afghans were hiding in caves, popping up out of the ground like a gopher with a rocket launcher on their shoulder, dropping these helicopters. Russia took a beating over there trying to take out the Afghani people. Yeah. It took them 12 years to realize it was unwinnable.
Yeah.
You know, and then we went over there and got involved, and it's still unwinnable. The Afghan people are probably like the Ukrainian people. They're resilient. They are not going to give up. They just refuse to give up.
Well, it's just like any war. You know, you bring in high tech stuff. I mean, we had the same situation in Vietnam, where it was a whole different type of war when you can't see the enemy or you don't know who the enemy is. The enemy could be walking down the street as a citizen. You don't know that. They're hiding in the jungle. Of course, they had the jungle over there. You don't have that in Ukraine. But what I'm saying is there's Russians and then there's Ukrainians, and you can't tell them apart. No. So there's because some of them are originally from Russia. Some actually relate to Russia and some don't. So you've got this mix in there that they won't know who their actual enemy is, even though they come in. So they run the risk of not only the world optics, but coming in and killing some of their own if they try to go in and annihilate the area. If they try to do a strategic, like Putin was saying, we hit specific targets and so forth. But once you move in, you won't be able to withstand the militia or the ground people, because they'll you won't know who you're fighting. So if you're trying not to hurt the civilians, then you have no defense against them either. So they either start killing the civilians or they don't. So I think that's an unwinnable situation unless you just go in and annihilate the place. I even hate to say that, but it's just
he can't win by convincing the people.
No,
he can't. He can't win through negotiations. He's either going to have to leave with his tail tucked between his legs, or they're going to have to fight it out, and that's all there is at this point, because the Ukrainian people are going to fight to the last man at this point, if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
I think their president over there, Zelensky.
He's
obviously a very influential person. If he went from being a stand-up comedian, an actor, political activist, revolutionary, ended up being the leader of Ukraine. I mean, he's come a long way in his life, and I think a lot of it's probably attributed to the fact that he's a fighter. He's trying to do the right thing, and that's all it takes for people to stand behind you, is for them to see that you're trying to do the best you can with what you got to work with.
Yeah.
And I'm proud that he stood his ground and didn't abandon his people. I don't know what our president would do in that situation. He would probably go hide in the basement.
Yeah, go hide in the basement and take a nap too at the same time.
Take a nap. Yeah. Be on a 3-week sabbatical
somewhere.
Well,
maybe we'll find out who really is running the country at that point.
Right.
Well,
hopefully some good comes out of all this.
One thing I noticed, I was watching mainstream media the other day, and they were reporting on the convoy. And I'm thinking, oh, they're finally starting to show, and it wasn't totally negative, but it was kind of standoffish. But one of the key things that I noticed at the end, one of the anchor people said that they had talked to Nancy Pelosi, and they said that she reported she's going to keep a close eye on the progress of the convoy. And I'm thinking, well, since when is she the one that we have keeping an eye on what's going on? I mean, to me, that was a telltale sign.
Oh yeah, she's
Of
obviously
what's going
controlling
on.
the levers. She's controlling the levers of power.
Right. And so I was saying, why was that even said on the air like that?
The Speaker of the House should not have the power to delegate any kind of investigation that doesn't involve things in the House and the Congress.
Yeah.
I mean, for her to put up committees to go after citizens for drunk driving or whatever, the issue it's Nancy Pelosi is not the Attorney General of the United States.
Right.
That's not her job.
You should tell her that, right?
Somebody needs to tell her.
But to me, that was kind of a eye-opening moment because I was getting ready to cheer the news outlet on, and then I realized what she had just said, and I ran it back and played it again. I'm like, she did. She actually
admitted it.
Yeah, that we checked with the Speaker of the House to see what they were going to do about it. Well, rather than the Biden administration, So anyway, that was just a sideline thing.
She may be running the show more than we know, because when you're Speaker of the House, you have power over committees. You have power over allocation.
I know.
You have power over. Everybody wants to be on committees in order to be part of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and that way you get your vote in, you can make a little more money, and you get a little say in legislation that goes that way, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to be a good politician, you want to be in committees in order to be able to do more, right? To be able to have more access to put your perspective in, your 2 cents, your vote, whatever your agenda is. And so when you get knocked out of committee, you're almost useless, right? When you're out of all committees, you're only there for a vote for the most part. You can get up there and do your little conversation and bang the gavel a little bit, but in reality,
bang the gavel a little bit.
Being on committees is where the power's at, and who allocates funds to these committees, how the lobbyists pour money into these private interest groups that end up pouring money into people like Pelosi's pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're on 2 or 3 committees and you piss off Pelosi, well, she'll take you off 2 of them committees, and now your paycheck gets shrunk on the front side, like the legal side of it, but at the same time, your ability to make any money off the lobbyist, your ability to get involved in the legislation, just goes away on those particular committees. And so that's a large amount of power you have when you can take somebody and say, I'm taking half of your job away from you today.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't mind me. And it affects their income. It affects their influence, their ability to get things done. When you've been, I listened to a woman named Kat McCamick. I don't know if you know who that is.
Oh, yeah, I know who that is. Yeah, I did a little piece on her.
I follow her on Facebook. I have for a long time, and it's because she's very involved, right? And she got her own Facebook following, right? Yeah. So every couple of days, when we have some kind of stupid Senate bill, infrastructure package, or something trying to be shoved down our throats, whether it's something in the middle of the night or whether it's something that the news is talking about, Kat McCamick does every day or two. She'll do a follow or a feed on her Facebook, and she'll literally walk right out of the chambers, walk outside on the steps, and just start telling it all on her phone. Okay, this is what happened today. This is what Nancy was arguing about. This is what they're trying to push through. This is why it ain't working. Here's the details of it. When I wanted to learn about what was in the infrastructure package, what Joe Manchin and Sinema statements were about it, I could find some of that stuff on the mainstream media, but it was all the same information.
Right,
When I
right.
listen, when
All
I listen to
spoon-fed.
all spoon fed, and so when I listen to Cat McCamick, I found out that she just comes out and gives her opinion as to what she's seen with her own eyes, and so she's pretty much up to the minute on the reporting. A lot of times before the news actually get a hold of it, so that's one of the reasons I follow her. If something big happened in Congress, something passed or something failed, I can go to her Facebook, and within a few hours, I'll be able to find her talking about it.
Yeah, I know. That's how I found her too. And she was saying, "I just came out off the floor," and she start as she's
Right,
walking to her office, she's talking
right.
and letting you know what happened. I thought, wow, this is neat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's boots on the ground. I guess you call her a politician, but at the same time, she's I guess kind of like a reporter in her own way.
Well,
You know,
yeah,
because she is reporting on this
because
stuff.
she understands that there's got to be another way of getting the information out, because she knows that once you become aware that the mainstream media is not telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth, that you have to use those alternate sources. And then of course we rely on each other to make sure that we share, so that other people are aware of it as well. So that's why it's worked out really good for her on Facebook, because people are sharing it left and right. That's how she's got such a big following. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've told several people about her. Go check her out. You want to find out what's going on in Congress today? She
Yep.
knows.
Yep.
There's another guy I listen to as well. His name is Bill uh, McGuire or something. I can't remember his
Sounds
last name.
familiar.
No, it's Bill Hirschevin or something. I forget his last name. He's got a real weird last name. But him and Cat McCamick are two of the Republicans that come out and get on their phones and tell what
Yeah.
happened in the chambers. I hate Facebook for the most part. I don't like what they stand for. I don't like Zuckerberg. But at the same time, it's how I keep in contact with some of my family members and my kids through Facebook. And doing this reporting, I find myself over there catching feeds that are not on YouTube yet.
Right, right. Well, me
And
too.
and so
I
I
don't.
so, so I
I
do so I
hardly
do
do
use
any
Facebook.
posting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't post much over there either. Just a little bit for my family or whatever. But I'm not trying to get a following on Facebook. I've never went that route just because
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care about Facebook like that. But it is a good source of information. Sometimes before they throw the disclaimer on it, the
Well,
woo disclaimer at the bottom or whatever.
Facebook took a lot of the leaders of the convoy off. They kicked them off just merely because they were talking about organizing, and their reasoning. They literally came out and basically called them QAnon enthusiasts or something to that effect,
Of course.
as to how and why they canceled them. But the bottom line is they didn't. They were trying to step in, and I still think that they're working as an arm of the government. They stepped in to try to buffer the word getting out about the convoy, trying to suppress it enough to maybe, hopefully, it wouldn't grow as big as it actually ended up growing, which we all knew it was going to, but, they tried to stop it, which, it has a reverse effect on the general public, because now, number one, it gives us all a dislike for their company, right? We all realize that they're not friendly. We all realize that they will lie about how and why they're doing certain things. And yet we can go on that same platform and find people talking terrible about other countries, other races, other people, but yet they're over here.
Iran. The
Yeah,
mullahs of Iran are
yeah,
still on there
yeah.
talking dead to
So,
America.
so it's like, well, wait a minute, if you need to do all or none.
Right.
Yeah.
They got selective fact checking.
Yes, exactly. So,
Well, I seen an article this morning that kind of reminds me of this. Facebook was whining this morning because Russia has taken Facebook out of their country. Right? Russia's knocked down Facebook's ability to be used in their country, because a lot of people in Russia are complaining. Their video
Yeah,
showing
I
video
know.
footage of the riots and things. So Russia did what they wanted to do, which is censoring the social media over there, which all tyrants do, right? All tyrants
Yeah,
do. And so Facebook gets shut down in Russia by order of Putin. Well, Facebook's mad about it. They do not like to be censored. They think it is an atrocity for people not to be able to get the truth without some outside entity deciding what can be heard and what can't be heard. So Facebook is mad at Putin for deciding that they don't have a voice over there. Facebook's doing the same thing to us over here. Facebook is over here deciding we don't have a voice.
right, exactly.
So for them to whine about Russia canceling them, they've been canceling us for a year and a half. They canceled our president. Who is he to complain? I mean, Facebook, Mr. Zuckerberg, does not care about Russian people's rights. We know better than that. It's probably cutting into his revenue stream. That's probably the extent of that. He doesn't care about censorship. I guess he cares about it if it comes at him.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
it's kind of like.
But we know why he's doing it, though. He's trying to cut the lines of communication.
Absolutely.
And that's always been a tactic, a military tactic, ever since man started fighting. You know. So, but I look at it also as it's kind of funny. I kind of giggle about it from the point of view of Facebook and them complaining. But at the same time, I would hate it if our government came in and said, okay, we're shutting it all off because of some controversy they're doing, you know.
Right.
So,
well, that they have done that on the slyest of levels. I mean,
right.
When you buy out mainstream media and you've only got one narrative, you get what we have going on here now. You have to find your news from a podcaster.
We're a constitutional republic, and the power resides in the people. So it's a little bit different when you have a dictatorship and, total control and all that. So our country or our government knows that if they went that far, they would be out of government really quick. I mean, it would stir up enough people. They would just say, "To heck with it, we're taking our country back," and So
I'm surprised that this powder keg hasn't went off that direction yet behind these. I think the mandates over here died right on time, because if they'd have been trying to go with the fourth jabberdoodle booster triple mask mandate for everybody all over again because of a new variant, I think we would have a real issue in this country that people wouldn't listen. Yeah. Because of what happened this last time with all this mandates and the way it was handled. If we ever have another situation like this, half the people are not going to listen because the trust is gone. That's a problem. I mean, if there was a situation that we needed something like that, their credibility is already shot for some people.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
a touchy subject, but
yeah,
we're getting on an hour here.
Yeah, we're just about out of time.
Let's go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for listening. Appreciate your chats and comments. Going to be coming in the section below. This is Dave and Callie. If you don't already know, go check him out on his channel. He's doing great over there. He's very good at this podcasting thing. He's good with the graphics. He's good at bringing the story. He's one of the better ones out there as far as I'm concerned. I listen to his show almost every day, if not every day. Try to at least catch up on the news. There's a lot of us out here spreading the same information, but everybody's got their own take on it. And
I do it a little different.
We all do it a little differently, and I do like how you do your show. And it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
And thanks for helping me with the StreamYard situation. I am literally a technological idiot when it comes to figuring this stuff out.
A couple of weeks from now, you won't even think twice about it.
Well, hopefully so. I feel like I learn something every day.
All righty.
All right, folks, we're out of here. We're going to call it a day. Thanks for showing. Go to Patriot 2. Over now.